Hi everyone. For our final module for AAT Day, we're going to invite you to take some time to dive into the data from our most recent year-end report for Library Media Services. The purpose of this report is for us to be able to gather information to answer the question, how are the school library programs operating across our district? We wanted to take the time to share the information we gathered with you because we recognize that there's value in understanding how your work fits into the bigger picture of the district. Before we begin, I want to make sure to emphasize that this data is all representative of what will hopefully be our most challenging year ever. We know that many of you felt discouraged by the data you reported, and so part of our hope in sharing it is that you'll feel some sense of comfort in knowing that you weren't alone. Also, we feel this data represents the absolute baseline in most of these areas. If our goals are to show collective growth year to year, that should be well within our reach for this school year. So the way we're going to ask you to explore this data is by looking at and examining charts and graphs on the slides that follow. So as you look at the data, we want you to ask yourself, what do you notice? What do you wonder? You'll be able to see examples of slides that show whether people at different levels serve as tech contact, whether they have a media assistant, whether or not they participated in Wake Forward, and if so, what focus area they chose, what sort of circulation policy they have. And these sorts of things can be particularly useful as you think about your own answers to these questions and how they might compare to other answers from people at your same level across the district. You'll notice that on some of the slides, we've taken the data and we've sort of represented it as a per student number because our programs vary so widely across the district and because our schools are so different in size. That seems to be the most equitable way of taking the data and being able to compare across different environments. So just take note of that as you're looking at some of the different data that's reported as well. And then finally, for some of the data that were more narrative explanations, like when we asked you questions about the sorts of instruction that you were delivering and information skills, you'll notice that some of that data is represented in word clouds. And so when you look at the word cloud, the words that are larger are going to represent answers that a greater number of people gave to say that these were particular units of study that they provided instruction and information skills for. So after you've looked through all of the different data and you've reflected and thought about what you notice and what you wonder, we're going to ask you to click on the link to the Jamboard in the slides and then use the sticky note feature in the Jamboard to be able to record a summary of your reflections about the things that you noticed and wondered about the different aspects of the data. And we're doing this because rather than Kendra and Deb and I sharing our interpretation of the data, we're really interested in gathering your collective analysis because we think that in terms of setting goals as a group and figuring out what we want library programs across the district to look like, we really want your interpretation of the data to be able to drive some of those conversations. Finally, the last thing that we're going to ask you to do for this module and for the course in general is to submit a brief reflection in Canvas. And so this will give you the opportunity to think through all of the information that you looked through in all of the different modules, all of the things that are new for the start of this school year, and considering all of that, what goals might you set for this year? What conversations might you have with your MTAC or with your administration? And completing this reflection in Canvas is going to be the thing that triggers you being awarded credit in the course as a whole. I just want to take this opportunity on behalf of all the digital learning and library staff to thank you for all of the work that you've done over the last year. We're here for you as you embark on your work for this school year. Please feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions you have or any help that you may need.